don't cry for me, 'cause that's the life that I chose to lead. See, mama, I changed my ways. I praise God, mama, every day. Mama.
Hey, you remember this HBO series, The Wire?
No doubt, one of my favorite shows.
Man, look, every time they portray Avon Barksdale in The Wire.
What about it?
To me, I don't like it.
Well, you don't like the actor that was playing?
They're not portraying him right.
Well, he's not real.
He is real.
Avon Barksdale that play on The Wire is real.
Yeah, he really grew up with me.
Not an actor.
He ain't no damn actor.
There's a real Avon Barksdale.
There's a real Avon Barksdale.
Alive and free walking the street.
Alive and free, but it's one problem.
What?
Don't ever call him Avon.
His story ain't pretty. In fact, his story is pretty disturbing. Actor Wood Harris knows both sides of Barksdale's story. He plays the notorious Avon Barksdale character who was a powerful Baltimore gangster in the HBO series The Wire. Now, the show's creator calls him fiction.
This environment is real. People watch this show, they don't even be knowing. They think we're making it up stuff.
In real life, this is Nathan Avon Barksdale.
My baby mama live right there, but she ain't in the house. I sent for something cold to drink, but she ain't sent it. Good thing she probably just come out acting crazy, you know? So, fuck my yellow jacket up, you know what I mean?
In real life, during the 80s, Barksdale was a notorious and resilient businessman. However, most people would call him a drug dealer or a drug kingpin. He had a knack for cheating death. Some of Barksdale's real violent battles are documented by former newspaper journalist David Simon. Now, Simon is also the creator of the critically acclaimed TV series The Wire. Simon says that The Wire is fiction. But it's more than coincidence that the names Barksdale, Marlowe, and others who are composite characters in the TV show are also familiar names Simon used to write about during his days as a reporter in Baltimore. Barksdale says he's okay if Simon and others use his name.
Come back with the water.
He's even okay if some of the stories he sees on TV are remarkably similar to stories he lived or knew about when he was a gangster. He talked to the show's producers about what life was like during his reign. But he also told them, you better not cross the line.
I was this crazy, man. I was in the joint. I was this crazy. I said to the man, don't make me no rat and don't make me no snitcher. Since y'all say, you know, it ain't nothing I can do to stop it, just don't do that and I won't kill your ass.
Barksdale's mother, Emma Barksdale Greer, says that she hasn't seen much of the show The Wire. The former school teacher, real estate investor, and mother of 5 boys says it's not her kind of show.
I saw part of it, but it was so embarrassing I never looked at it again. I couldn't relate to it.
Embarrassing hearing your son's name?
Well, you know, I just couldn't relate to it. You know, normally I just don't like stuff like that anyway.
You know, some people are uneasy that the real Barksdale's out of jail and walking the streets again. Perhaps they remember some of the things they heard and some of the things that Simon wrote about as a journalist. Maybe they remember some of the things documented on TV newscasts and in Simon's newspaper articles back in the 80s when Barksdale was in power.
The 2 suspects in the apartment, one a 16-year-old, the other 25-year-old Nathaniel Barksdale, were injured in the gunfire.
In a few interviews, Barksdale talks to actor Wood Harris about his disturbingly unbelievable life. Leaving the studio for a more familiar environment, Barksdale also tells his story in an old boxing gym where he met some of his old friends. Always on the move, this time in one of his club hangouts, he shared some thoughts about old friends, fights with enemies, and an impressionable childhood. You know, Barksdale's life as a kid may have contributed to his actions as an adult. Those are the years when lives are shaped, and in many cases, lives are lost.
Some of the events was, first was the riots of '68. That had a lot to do with the way my mentality was shaped. The way I viewed the world, the way I viewed the police. It wasn't no officer friendly in my neighborhood.
Elaborate on that. That's one of the main questions too. Like elaborate on that. Like the riots, what was it like? Because people might not be able to fathom it. People might not be able to picture it.
Well, I got my first case during the riots of '68. Martin Luther King was gunned down, and
black cities were just going up.
Yeah, went crazy, right? And went crazy. Rebelled. They were mourning him, and that's how we do, sometimes. Yeah. We act out, and we went and got us some of that money, man.
Barksdale grew up in Baltimore's roughest projects, and he found himself having to fight over and over and over again. Early on, fights were just downright petty and revolved around just his name.
Wait, you said it was Nathan Avon.
Nathan, man.
Nathan, my fault, Nathan.
Nobody call me no Avon.
My fault. Tell us about that, the birth name.
Oh, I had big trouble about that shit in the projects, man. They would call you the Avon lady and shit.
Oh no.
And so you got to fight and shit all the time in the projects. In the Avon, everybody's telling the same corny joke.
So how they start calling you Bodie?
I was whooping niggas' asses for calling me Avon. You know what I mean?
Oh, he didn't like that. He was named after Avon Cosmetics.
Where'd that come from?
Avon Cosmetics, really. That's where it really came from. I used to sell Avon. I like Avon.
Well, did the kids tease you about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what would you tell them to do? Or how to handle it?
Like it's your name, you should be proud of it.
As Barksdale perfected his fighting skills, friends and enemies eventually discovered that saying his name Avon was just not a good idea. The name Avon gave way to the nickname Bodie. Now, although Barksdale says he doesn't really remember when or why people started calling him Bodie, his mom says her recollection is clear.
The name Bodie came from television. It was like the Bowie knife. Remember, it was an old show called Bowie, but instead of saying Bowie, I called him Bodie, and it fit in so well.
Barksdale didn't really care as long as they didn't call him Avon. The name Bodie just kind of stuck and would later become his nickname in the hood and a familiar name to cops. Barksdale grew up in Baltimore, not the Baltimore associated with the famed Inner Harbor. Visitors to Charm City are impressed with all it has to offer. In the non-tourist areas, it's a healthy mix of middle and upper income neighborhoods. Sometimes those neighborhoods are only a few blocks from areas in which Barksdale was more familiar. Those pretty neighborhoods were quite a contrast to Barksdale's world. The projects were Barksdale's playground and eventually his place of business. Now, in the hood, he learned some special skills, like how to survive on the street, how to understand the rules of conduct. However, his school teacher mom wanted a better life for her children, and she describes how she tried to expose young Barksdale to things outside of the projects. In school, that exposure landed Barksdale in some hot water.
We used to go to the museum and places like that, and they always had all these nude pictures. He drew a nude picture, and the teacher called me in. He had this nude woman. He was 5 years old, and she thought that was the worst thing. And I was trying to explain to her that's art, and it is. And when you go to the museum, mostly those nudists, you remember the old Greek nudists? They're nude. And I guess he must have liked it.
Like many parents, Barksdale's mom used to talk to Bodie about a lot of things.
It was good. It was all right. We used to have a lot of, we had a lot of fun. Come home, cook dinner, everybody sit around the table and talk about the events of the day, what they learned, what happened here and there. It was pretty good. We went out a lot. When he was 13 years old, I had just finished up community college and started at another school, University of Baltimore. So, you know, like, and I was carrying like full credits. So I did have them. And I just believed wasn't no police is coming. He was going to school every day. He was getting good grades. You understand what I'm saying? So there was no reason to be alarmed. I got alarmed when the police broke the door down.
The young Barksdale's hood slowly started to overpower his mother's efforts to keep him on the straight and narrow. Now, she says she was just caught up with trying to maintain multiple jobs to make ends meet, divorce, and a dependency on her older sons in the family to care for young Barksdale while she worked. Keeping him out of trouble was quite a challenge. He began scheming to perfect his pickpocket hustle.
I beat a Vic for a while, and I had got away. Got to the projects, and usually when you got to the projects, they would stop chasing you. Got to the projects, but there was this one cop, he was known in the projects, and he chased me and caught me. Caught me, yeah. He turned out to be a terrible motherfucker. He, years later, you know, he had killed a bunch of people and shit. They were scared of him. Dangerous pull, I lucked out. He didn't kill me.
But Barksdale had bigger plans than being the king of pickpockets. He wanted to make more money. He became a paperboy too. But one paper route just wasn't enough. At a young age, he demonstrated his business savvy and leadership skills. Barksdale says he organized his own group of boys to muscle out competition and seize territories of other paperboys over a wide area.
We were kids, and we had a gang. We were the 40 Thieves, right? And in the projects. And, you know, they sold, what, 3 or 4 major newspapers. Before we got a hold of it, it was some minor guys, some weaker guys. They had it. It was like 4 or 5 different, but for each one of those papers I told you, it was like 2 different crews of kids that controlled one of those routes, and we just consolidated it. We took it and made it, you know, work. But we brought them all in with us, though.
Oh, okay.
Nobody died, you know.
When Barksdale wasn't throwing newspapers, he was busy practicing his hustle. One led to a horrible tragedy.
He was about 11 years old. They were playing on the rec lot. And I was like in school. I had just started community college. And I was upstairs washing clothes, and they ran and told me he had had an accident. And what had happened, it was one of those, they used to have these x-ray buses. The city would send them out. You know those, I guess, anyway, just drive them. He was playing this game. The kids get on back of the bus, and then he'd back it up and they jump off. This is the way they told it to me. I always really wanted to know what happened.
Barksdale now reveals what he says really happened. He had been constantly stealing from a man who regularly drove through the neighborhood. He was even bold enough to steal the man's lunch and sit on the back of his vehicle to eat it. But on this day, the man just had enough. He managed to get into the vehicle fast, throwing it in reverse and smashing Barksdale's leg against the wall. Barksdale's foot was crushed. He eventually lost his foot. And several surgeries later, he lost his leg as well. You know, the newspaper clippings say, even with the loss of his leg, he moved extremely fast. It didn't stop Barksdale's activities, and it may have hardened him as a hustler, and he would discover later that it helped him in court. Hustling and newspaper routes didn't come close to satisfying Barksdale's needs and desire to have more money in his pocket. He seized the opportunity to become a drug runner and a lookout. Drug lieutenants like using them because typically they were so young and immune from adult prosecution. Their punishment, if they happened to be caught by the police, was short and sweet. I mean, we're talking a few months tops in a camp-like setting at that. They could quickly be back out on the street, and they earned their rite of passage. Punishment dished out by Barksdale's mentor was allegedly quite different. Newspaper reports say that major West Baltimore drug dealer Frank Harper is accused of using torture, fear, and murder to keep people in check. Unfortunately for Barksdale, learning the tricks of the trade from Harper came with big risks. The same news article says that Barksdale and 2 other boys were accused of stealing and not turning over all the money they collected to Harper's lieutenant. Barksdale denies they kept money that didn't belong to them. However, that wasn't the story that got back to Frank Harper.
What's going on, man? Look, we got a problem, man. Bodie, Mirando, Geronimo, man, things out of order. It's crazy. We missing money.
What the fuck you mean we missing money?
Yeah, we missing money, a lot of money, man. Missing your money.
You ain't missing my money. What money? How much am I missing?
About 30,000, I think. Not sure.
Look, fuck all that. I want all them little motherfuckers. Bodie, Mirando, Ronnie Moe, whoever the fuck else be with them, man. You go get them, take them to the basement. I got something for them. Go take care of that, man.
Barksdale described what would happen next as being the scariest moment of his life.
A guy locked me in the basement. I was like 12, 11, and a guy locked me in the basement with some dogs, and they beat me up. I was a kid, you know. So that would have been like, you know, the scariest moment because I couldn't defend myself. I was a child. You know.
Frank Harper used dogs as a weapon. Each boy was abducted and forced down into a basement at gunpoint. Harper added another terrifying element: a vicious dog not in the best of moods. Barksdale was the last one picked up. When Barksdale arrived, one boy escaped. The rest of the boys had to make a choice: take a bullet to the head or face man's best friend.
You know, boys don't come to their mothers with stuff like that. When I heard about that, she was in prison.
But the emotional scars left by the incident stayed with Barksdale like an open sore. It would be difficult for anyone to forgive an adult who puts a dog on a child. You know, even as Barksdale developed a skill for organization and his business savvy on a small scale, he learned some valuable survival skills from one of his favorite sports.
I've been boxing since I was like 9 years old. I've been interested in it. My dad was a fighter, grandfather too, and a bunch of my uncles, all my brothers. My mom, you know, she couldn't afford daycare, so she would leave us at the gyms, and like that, and that was how it turned out. I first met Larry Middleton at Nick Trotter's on the block, because that was the first gym I had stumbled into. He was like a dad to all of us, Larry Middleton. You know, nobody in the projects had a father. And, you know, he brought a whole lot of new discipline to us that we wasn't used to, like the no cursing. You couldn't cuss while Larry was there. And I never saw Larry with a gun.
Larry Middleton is a former world-class heavyweight boxer. In his prime, he ranked in the top 10. He fought the likes of Larry Holmes and Jimmy Ellis. I mean, he was also the trainer of former heavyweight champ Hasim Rock and sparring partner for Muhammad Ali. The man taught neighborhood kids how to fight, but he lectured them about being good citizens and never using the skills he taught them the wrong way. Middleton would even go to his boxer's home to team with his parents in an effort to keep his guys out of trouble.
Well, Bodie, he didn't warn them. They kind of didn't want me to come to their house. I hate someone that behave that way. Once I be training someone, I want them to go out and do things right, correctly. You know, that sort of thing. So I talked to him about that. I always try to talk and change people around, you know, around.
I feel like I let him down. I do. I really do. I feel like I let him down because even though I didn't have any aspirations to become pro, you know, because I'm much too cute for that. And, you know, that's a joke, man. All right. I was never an advantage taker. You know, I never went out looking for some guy that I knew he couldn't do nothing, you know. But when we had business disputes, it was the lesser of the two evils. I mean, you know, instead of putting my finger on him, I'm like, you know what I mean, strike him. And he get the message and he get the money and that type of thing.
Another one of his boxing mentors was Marvin McDowell. Now, he's a former lightweight champion, Maryland Hall of Fame inductee, and the owner of Umar's Boxing Gym. Like Middleton, McDowell also tried to steer the teenagers like Bodie away from trouble.
I know Bodie from boxing, you know.
Was he good?
He was all right, you know. I'm saying it could have been a whole lot better if he stuck with it, you know. But, you know, he was good with the hands. Now, somebody on the street, they had a problem. But, you know, somebody in an organized situation, as far as like I was in boxing, you know, with the techniques and everything, and running and getting in shape, it's a whole lot different than the street. You know, you hear things, you know, here and there, but I knew him for what he was doing in boxing, you know, and it just used to surprise me when I would hear, Bodie this, Bodie that. Man, that ain't the Bodie I know, you know.
But it was the Bodie Barksdale that the street knew all too well as he transitioned from hustler to young businessman who had a product in high demand.
I had 5 sons, 5 living sons, and my oldest son, and I worked a lot. So he went to school, he never hooked school. You know, he got pretty good grades in school. So I thought everything was good. I really thought everything was going good until I wound up in court.
You were speaking of a large settlement that Bodie received.
Yeah, and when he started buying all this stuff and spending all this money, I just assumed that it was that money. I didn't know anything about the drug deal and all that. I found out about that when they, you know, like I found out when they locked him up and started accusing him.
Barksdale says he was compensated in an undisclosed settlement for the incident that would unfortunately cost him his leg as a young child. Money was put in a trust that he would have access to when he reached a certain age.
I mean, you know, you can call it what you want, but I had to work 3 jobs, a couple of jobs to make ends meet and everything. So I might have had my head in the sand, you know, and by the time I realized it, it was too late.
Barksdale's transition from hustler to gangster was just getting started. Before the transition, he quickly discovered that the transition was not going to be easy. Bodie Barksdale, as he prefers to be called instead of his birth name Avon, rose to power through violence, shrewd business savvy, and loyalty from both his crime and biological family. Violence on top of violence helped Barksdale carve out a huge territory to run his lucrative drug operations that brought in millions. But managing that territory was not easy. Bodie Barksdale has the scars to prove it. Barksdale claims he only dished out violence when he was on the defense. He says it was a matter of survival. Now, whether you believe him or not, regardless, there was no shortage of people gunning for Barksdale.
I've been shot more than 20 times, right? And I've been paralyzed. I was temporarily blind, and I got shot. Guys came to the hospital, shot me in the head. Came to the hospital? Yeah, and shot me in my head, and put it in my mouth, came out the back of my neck, right? And you know, I got shot a lot of times. That's so amazing. It was horrible getting shot.
No, that ain't a myth. He still got bullets in him. He was crippled. He was paralyzed for about 6, maybe a year. From what I was understanding, he was shaking, holding this guy's hand, shaking it, and some guys came up from behind him and started just, but he didn't die.
Barksdale is guarded when sharing specifics about violence he may have dished out when he says he was attacked by his enemies, even those incidents that are now public record. Although he's out of jail, he's still on probation, and he's not anybody's fool.
It ain't no statute of limitation on murder, man. Ain't no statute of limitation on murder, man.
But his mom can recall one shooting that she says her son described to her as an accident.
He had shot this guy in the leg and he bled to death. Okay? But that was supposed to have been an accident. It wasn't, I mean, I don't know until today if it was drug related.
And the 16-year-old Barksdale wound up with a suspended sentence for manslaughter. Old newspaper articles give a small glimpse of accusations against Barksdale and his lieutenants. Court records documenting numerous charges, incidents, and convictions reveal a spiraling upward trend of violence associated with Barksdale and his operation. As Barksdale built his independent drug empire, he had a low tolerance for mistakes and zero tolerance for messing with his money.
And what would happen to people who didn't do what they were supposed to do?
Well, you know, if it was a situation where he didn't do what he was supposed to do and he was putting everybody at risk, you know, everybody, because all of the guys with me, you know, we were all the alpha males in our family. We were the guys that were the breadwinners, the earners in our family, you know, because dad wasn't home for nobody. And we were dads. So, you know, you put, when you fuck around and sleep on a job, you putting me at risk.
Everybody,
my
the
kid
whole
brother,
everything.
Yeah, no school clothes, no Christmas, none of that, you know. So when he put everything at risk, he pretty, you know, hard knock. Let me put it that way.
Victor Smith was one of Barksdale's lieutenants.
This Victor Vito Smith. This was the youngest guy in my crew, in our crew, right? And he was like 14 or 15. He was a serious man, but he was a teenager. Anyway, and we helped. We ran this territory together. Us and some more of our friends and family members. We ran these projects.
But some of his friends just could not understand why he would associate with someone who had a reputation like Barksdale.
I mean, you know, a lot of dudes was like, why you want to work with him? I guess they were scared and whatnot, but shit, I mean, everything was right, money was right, and you made a lot of money with Brody. Yeah, I mean, you know.
He was a scary guy also.
Damn near the whole town was scared to death of him anyway, so, I mean, we was gonna do what we was gonna do, so wasn't nobody gonna stop us from getting money where we was gonna go at.
Barksdale's lieutenants were very loyal, but the man who put the dog on Barksdale, Frank Harper, had a loyal group of lieutenants as well. Loyalty on both sides would eventually lead to deadly confrontations.
Yeah, that's right. Time to die, motherfucker, time to die. Time to die, motherfucker, time to die.
Those who know the story say the embarrassed man vowed revenge and put a hit on Barksdale's head. It was a bounty that had no shortage of hunters.
Hey, with a girl, you need to hurry up and get down here right now. Be right here, let's get him.
Acting on a telephone tip, the man who Barksdale embarrassed and two other gunmen waited outside for Barksdale to exit the building with a companion.
Yeah, that's right. Time to die, motherfucker, time to die. Time to die, motherfucker, time to die. Time to die, motherfucker, time to die. Time to die.
To the shooter's amazement, Barksdale survived like he's done so many times before. The shooters found out, they went up to Church Holmes Hospital emergency room, and as he lay there fighting for his life, they proceeded to finish the job.
Time to die, motherfucker, time to
Barksdale survived, like he's done several times before.
die, motherfucker, time to die.
There ain't no shit I want to happen again, right?
You got a very, very specific purpose, let's put it that way. I don't think it's...
Barksdale's loyal lieutenants kept the operation going while Barksdale recovered. However, Barksdale's lieutenants were motivated to avenge the shooting. They allegedly knew one of the shooters and didn't wait long to take action. An alleged contract killer was later found shot to death in a rat-infested basement. It was another battle in a war that was far from over. The violence just kept escalating because of personal grudges, territory battles, and because there was a whole lot of money at stake.
Describe the kind of money your operation brought in so people know.
Big money. Lots and lots of money. A friend of mine, Melvin, he described it as weigh money. Wow. That's money you have to weigh. You ain't got time enough to count it. You have to weigh it. Now, we done well. We moved it was between never less than 37. Never less than 37 a day. No, a couple times it was like 25, 26,000.
A day?
But, yeah. But,
many years ago?
Oh, this was more than 25 years ago.
See, people make $35,000 a year now, on average.
No, I'm talking about daily. This was.
No, I know. That's what's incredible.
David Simon's article on drug trafficking says court records indicate Barksdale's crew turned a $100,000 drug buy into $500,000 in retail drug sales in a week. The preferred product? Heroin. Heroin made it to the streets of Baltimore from many sources.
What's going on, Nick?
How you doing, buddy? Good.
Okay. I want that money for you, the 1.4 million. But all, plus I got another 6.
You're doing good, man. You're doing good. I got 20 more for you. 96%, 97 pure.
That's good, but you think you could cut me a cheaper price? 140 good, but 120 to work with it.
Are you fucking crazy, man? You don't make money? You don't have it?
Shit, I'm taking money.
I hear that you got problems outside. Is that true?
It's true, but it's not gonna affect our business. My problems ain't gonna affect nothing we do.
Sure.
I'm gonna take care of that. It's cool?
Okay, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Baby girl, what Nick got?
In a bag.
Okay. George, Nick's money, $2 million.
All right, man. Wait for me in the front, man.
All right.
You see that?
Yeah, that's it.
Better than last shit?
Right.
You got something here, man. For real. Woo!
Sex. Money. Sex. I did what I did. You know I had to get paid. Money. Sex.
Baby girl, you take it easy, all right?
Sex. Money. Sex.
All right.
Oh, the dope was a bomb. The dope was a bomb, man. There's nothing spitting up, man. Right? See, the product, this is another thing. See, your age group, that's that crack age. See, my age group, it was heroin. It was the drug of choice, was heroin, smack. And I was a dope boy, you know. So, work with Scramble. Right, that's heroin with a byproduct, or several byproducts. Yeah, quinine and nita. Yeah, it's Italian baby laxative and quinine. It's a big byproduct, right? You would come out with like 6% real dope, but those other two byproducts enhance the whole other package. Yeah.
So you probably made more profit on the cut because you was only using the small.
It enhanced it, so it enhanced it in every way.
So people wanted to get with it.
Barksdale says he wasn't addicted to drugs, but
I like the bitches too, though. But it was mostly the money and the power.
It was an addiction he liked. It was also an addiction protected by using traditional and innovative ways to defend his money-making turf. Now, one of those ways was through the delivery of pizzas.
Here it is right here, world famous pizza. You see how much it look like a pizza? All right. And as kids, we would take these to the top floor, usually or the 14th floor. And when the cops came in or when our rivals came in, we would slide them off the balcony or out the fence. And the sound of this motherfucker from hitting cement from 14 flights up, like a bomb. Man, it's life-changing. I don't care what the fuck you were doing before that moment, you start reconsidering your options. Well, maybe I should do something else. Well, let me to this. Motherfucker dropping something like this, you know. I myself, none of the pieces I delivered, I can't remember ever hitting anybody, right? But I know it happens so much, right? But yeah, that's the deal, dog. This is the world famous pizza.
And you're right, it ain't from Chi-Town. That's a Baltimore special.
Yeah, deep dish for your ass.
Deep dish.
Yeah.
Special delivery too. That's what's really different, the delivery process.
Yeah,
from
the
the
delivery.
15th floor.
Yeah.
Or the 14th.
Exactly, 14th floor, man.
It was a way to send messages to people who weren't welcome. Barksdale's rival, Frank Harper, didn't sell pizzas, but he sold a bunch of items at his grocery store. On this day, assassins came shopping for Harper. It was on Harper's turf that his reign came to an end. It was an old-fashioned ambush.
Yeah. That's right. Time to die, motherfucker, time to die. Time to die, motherfucker, time to die.
Barksdale ended up in court, charged with the murder of his childhood mentor and adulthood rival. He was found not guilty. One reporter says the jury could not believe that a wheelchair-bound invalid could be behind such a plot. He had successfully used the loss of his leg as a weapon against the judicial system. He didn't walk out of the courtroom, but he walked away from the charge, and it wouldn't be the last time. This frustrated his enemies and the police. Former homicide police detective Oscar Requier.
We have a lot of problems with juries here in Baltimore City, you know. As far as credibility as a police officer, a lot of people don't put too much stock in the police officers, you know. But unfortunately, you know, a lot of them, they find them not guilty or hung juries, you know. The jury system, we do have some problem with them, you know.
Barksdale's mother said he left home at age 18. She started hearing more and more things about Bodie that she just did not want to believe.
He's a man, what could I say?
Barksdale spent a lot of time in court. It was not unusual for the prosecution to use its muscle and efforts to get unwilling witnesses to testify. Now, the state wanted to prosecute a man for trying to kill Barksdale in a previous shooting. Barksdale refused to testify. His brand of ethics had a serious disdain for snitches. So instead of testifying, Barksdale stunned the court with a surprise attack on the man, knocking him unconscious with his metal cane. Barksdale got 30 days for the assault. During the time that Barksdale was